Hello everyone, it is Agony333, and we're here for another fucking movie review. This time it is the sequel to last time's review. It is Sinister 2, as I promised. So, let's delve into this motherfucker, shall we? It is from 2015. It is an hour and 37 minutes. That's the runtime. And it is a horror mystery thriller. So the premise this time changes things up a little bit. This time the family in question that is targeted by Bagul is a mother named Courtney and her two children, Zach and Dylan. They basically obviously cross paths, with Bagul and get under his radar. And pretty much the deputy from the first film comes back and also crosses paths with them and seeks to basically stop what happened in the first film from happening again, pretty much. He wants to try to save them. So, yes, let's get into some things before I get to a rating and then have to dig deep. But yeah, I think some of these are going to be kind of spoiler heavy, maybe. Later on after the rating. And I am going to warn that there might be spoilers for Sinister 1 in this review. But let's fucking do this. So, the first note I got here is that this film has an atmospheric opening. So it has, to me, a cool opening, just like the first one had, which was a nice kind of, I don't know if I'd say trend, but I mean, it was nice to see, just like the first one, having a really cool kind of opening to set the mood and get things going. This one repeats that formula, showing a really cool opening that got me kind of hyped and ready to see more of it. Obviously, I mentioned the deputy makes a resurgence. He comes back, which I thought was really cool. I like how these films are linked. Some horror stories, horror movies, whatever you want to call them, some of them kind of like, they take, a killer, they take a situation and they just kind of repeat the formula. They just like, oh, family in a house, here's the poltergeist, here's the thing, or here's the killer, and it's basically a rehash. This film does some cool shit, changing things up. And one of the things is it has the connections to the first one that come back into this one. So the films are connected, which is pretty cool. Some series don't do that. They just basically keep, the threat, but they don't really connect in other ways. But this one has some stronger ties. So the deputy makes a resurgence, and he's a pretty big character this time around, which I like. Another thing, I guess, more or less as a joke. Early on, the kids are with their mom in a supermarket, and there's a part where they go for some cereal. The boy totally grabs some Waffle Crisp. I was like, fuck yeah, Waffle Crisp is the shit. So, yeah, anyone out there who likes Waffle Crisp, fuck yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, yeah, I put here also, not a typical rehash, which I liked. I liked that this wasn't just another family, and then it just wasn't, another rehash. It's a pretty unique family situation, but I kind of want to leave that until the spoiler territory. Although, it's kind of revealed pretty early on in a way what's going on, but the family situation is not really typical. And, with the deputy coming back, to me, it gave it a fresh feeling and didn't just rehash the past film. So it kept things fresh, in my opinion. The other thing I will say is in this time around, there was more involvement with the kids, whereas last time, we knew kind of that Bagul, was pretty involved with the children. That was a pretty big part of everything going on. But, you didn't really see the actual how Bagul was kind of like getting into their mind as much as this one. This one delves into that a lot more. You really get to see how he preys on the children and tries to manipulate them into doing his bidding this time around, which was pretty cool to see a whole different kind of take of what we're used to see the other kind of side of things. I thought was a really cool move. And let me see if I can mention any other things. Oh, one trivia bit that I found that I thought was pretty neat was apparently one of the reasons they chose for like a kind of like cornfield farmhouse kind of setup is it's paying homage to Children of the Corn, which is a pretty cool thing. I thought was pretty neat. But yeah, that was one thing that I found in the trivia stuff. And let me see. I think basically everything else here that I can mention is going to be delving more into the spoilers that I'm trying not to get into. But yeah, I felt like this was a really cool film due to the fact that it changed those things up. And I really liked how they tackled the family this time around. I really like how they had that character from the past one come in. And there's other things spoiler worthy that I can't mention that I did like in a way better than the first film. But then again, there's things that I feel like the first film did better. The first film, I feel personally, did the Super 8 films better because the Super 8 films make a return in this one. And I thought they were cool. I'm not saying they're bad. I just felt like, to me, the Super 8 films from the first movie were, that for some reason, they felt more atmospheric and darker. I don't know what it was, but I liked them better. I felt like they were more successful in the first one compared to the ones in this one. For some reason, I guess this time around it didn't impact me as much. I don't know if it's due to the fact, we've already seen that, so now it's kind of being shown again, or if it's just the fact that these films just, you know what I mean, just weren't as successful. I don't know. That's just how I felt about it, guys. I felt like the Super 8 films aspect of the first one was stronger, and some of the vibes I felt like were a little bit stronger in the first one. But the thing on this one that I like was, like I said, the way they handle the family, the ties it has to the first one, and the fact that this is another thing I guess I can mention since it doesn't spoil too much, is that the lore expands. I really thought that was cool how it, like I said, it's not just rehashing shit. You know what I mean? They bring kind of the things we know from the first one, and they elaborate more on it and enrich the lore, and they enrich the bits that we know about Bagul and the things that we know about everything going on, which I thought was a really cool thing. And so, yeah, I guess that's really all I can kind of get to. That's pretty quick, but I wanted to try my best to not ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen the film. And I apologize if I spoiled something or whatever, but I recommend that if either of these two films, Sinister 1 or 2, intrigue you, if the premise sounds interesting, if the visuals sound cool, whatever, I recommend giving them a shot because they're pretty cool films. I enjoyed both of them. So I would recommend checking them out rather than just getting spoiled or just listening to my dumbass go on about it. Check it out for yourself and see what you think. But I will have to give my review rating here. And initially, like, I felt like I had a good grasp on what I wanted to give this film. But then as time went on and I thought more about it, I kind of grappled with it because then I'm like thinking of the first one, thinking of this one, trying to compare them. And there's things I like about both of them. There's things I like better about the first one. There's things that I like better about this one. But ultimately, due to things that I'll get to in the spoilers, I feel like, personally, I like this one a little bit better. Now, when I was looking through things, I did see that I guess most people did not like this one as much as the first one. And that maybe kind of got me thinking more about the first one and kind of like, it got me kind of realizing the first one's superior strengths compared to this one. But like I said, my initial feeling and the feeling I'm gonna go with, which is my fucking feeling, not the opinions of everybody else. I felt like this one I liked just a little bit more, just a little bit, and that's not saying that the other one is inferior because it's not. To me, they're very close. That's how I feel. They're very close, but there's aspects I like in this one that I like just a bit more than the other one. And I really wish there was things from the first one that were maybe brought back and done well here. Like I said, the Super 8 films and just other things, little things, I guess. But I enjoyed this one just slightly better. So I went with a 7.5 for this one. I think the last one I gave it 7. I said it was a 7, lean towards a 7.5. And this one's just a 7.5. So yeah, this one may be slightly better. They were both pretty cool. I enjoyed them both. I didn't have negative feelings towards this one like apparently other people had. But that's just my ridiculous, stupid opinion. You guys are obviously free to have your own. You can flip out if you want to and say the first one was way better, Agony, you dumb fuck. Like, whatever, man. I'm just giving my opinions here. I enjoyed them both. They're both pretty cool. But yeah, 7.5. Let's get into the fucking spoilers. So, I already addressed the atmospheric opening, the deputy, the fucking waffle crisp, which is fucking awesome. Yeah, not a typical rehash. More involvement with the kids. Okay, the thing that I liked about this one had to do with the family. Now, the family situation is that Courtney and her 2 children are basically running away from the abusive father. this father is a fucking scumbag, piece of shit. And just a very abusive, aggressive, manly man fucking loser. I don't know. I really hated this guy. I felt like the actor did a good job portraying a complete fucking asshole that you don't mind to see get killed off. That's just how I feel. I was like, I want someone to whoop this guy's ass. I want to see him fucking go down. So I feel like the actor did a good job. But yeah, it has a manipulative, abusive father that is a control freak, and it shows how he was manipulating the system using not only his status, but using like friendships and connections with like authorities, things like that, which sadly, the reason I like this is because sadly things like this happen in real life. I mean, there's situations like this where like a manipulative family member will abuse a system, find loopholes, establish friendships and connections within the system to wreak havoc in situations like this involving children and things like this. So I thought that that was a kind of neat focus on this film. I mean, not just the aspect of Bagul and the horror, but the backstory and the family situation isn't just a typical one. I thought it was a really neat and kind of dark, sad, but kind of truthful thing. I mean, it showed that. It showed how these abusive fuckers, not just males but females too, because I mean, there's crazy people on both gender sides, everybody, but it shows how people can manipulate the system and the problems that it can cause a family. And so, yeah, I felt like that was an interesting approach, and that was one of the aspects I liked. The lore expansion that I liked was how it introduced the radio. It introduced a radio because apparently, like, it sounds like Jonas. I believe his name was Jonas. I still can't recall if Jonas was the original professor that Ellison had talked to or not. But basically, like a protege or like someone else up and coming that was under Jonas contacts the deputy and shows him these like radio transmissions and basically says that all over the fucking world this shit is going on, which is a really cool move. So it shows that this little track that we initially thought was going on in the United States that was established in the first film is not what. That's not it. It's going on all over the fucking globe, in Europe, everywhere, and by different means too, not just through these Super 8 films, but it's also going on through radio and whatever else. That to me was a really cool move. I love how they expanded that. And that's what like I said, that's one of the strengths. I felt like the strength was I liked the backstory with the family. I felt like it was a pretty unique take on it. I liked it. And the lore expansions, I felt like they expanded it enough to really like, wow, like this is cool. Because some films don't really do that. Some films just kind of keep it going, trying to repeat the success of the prior one. Whereas I feel like this one tried to take some risks and try to change some things up and give us a little bit more intrigue with Bagul and this whole situation. Another thing that I put here that I liked is it showed how I mentioned the two little brothers, well, the two children, Zach and Dylan. And Dylan is, I don't know if I'd say typical, not, I don't even know if I'm saying typical, but I don't know if I'd say Dylan is like a normal boy and that Zach is a bad one, but it definitely shows how abuse incites aggression. And it shows that through the brother Zach, it shows how kind of like Zach has kind of, sapped that and soaked that up like a sponge from the father, from, those actions, sadly, because, what I mean? That's what you'll see in these fucked up situations is sadly, when there's these kind of abusive situations, you see it's a cycle. And you see sometimes these children, latch onto that and repeat these things. And this film shows that. It shows how Zach deals with that by basically mimicking things that I would say his father was probably doing. And so Zach is a very aggressive little bastard. Unfortunately, instead of being supportive, but I mean, I guess it's not his fault. He's a child, but yeah, to me, like I said, I like how it shows that cycle. So I mean, it kept this whole dynamic interesting, and it showed the dark aspects of this stuff. Next note. One sec. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read and kind of jog my memory here. Okay, I remember. So there's a point where later on it's revealed that Zach is basically jealous of Dylan because Dylan's the one that is chosen by the children of Bagul, prior children that have committed atrocities, like their apparitions, whatever you want to call it. Dylan's basically been chosen, but as we find out later on, that's not actually the case. Dylan was basically, I don't know if I'd say scapegoat, but basically was a pawn in the larger scheme, which was basically helping push Zach over the fucking edge into becoming the one to carry out the actions. I thought that was a brilliant switch there. It was really cool to see that there was more thought put into it than just what we see. You know, just like the first one, there was some little thoughts kind of put in there. It was really cool to see a fucking switch and be like, oh shit. And it makes sense because, you know, Zach already has this aggression due to the abuse that he's had to suffer from the father and, you know, that he's latched onto. But, you know what I mean? It's like the ghoul and these children feasted upon that and used this whole superiority game between the brothers to pit them against each other and ultimately push Zach over the edge. I thought that was fucking brilliant. And so that's what I'm saying. Those are the things that I liked about this film. It was really neat. It was really, you know, dark, just crazy to see, you know, a backstory like this thrown in there, showing these little bits that I feel are kind of like true to life in a way. And these little bits like this, where, you know, I mean, there's more going on behind the scenes than we initially think, expansions with the lore, all these things I felt like were really cool positives that I really enjoyed when I was watching this film. So that is, to me, what kind of elevated this one slightly other than the other one. And I already told you guys the other one, what I felt was stronger was the Super 8 films, and maybe some of the vibes were maybe a little darker or something. But yeah, there was things I liked about both of them, but that I thought was a particularly cool thing. And another thing it also shows is how this manipulative, abusive bastard of a father uses money and power to inflict his abuse and stuff like that. So I think I kind of already touched on that. But yeah, I felt like the whole theme here with this family really elevated it in the lore, like I just continue to say. And another thing that was a good positive is I really liked the ending to this film. And I didn't actually mention much of the ending, I think, in the prior one, but I really loved the ending to the first film because for me, I like when a film has some balls and goes to the tragic, you know, to a tragic ending. I like that because that's the kind of stuff that keeps you on your toes. And a lot of times we get, you know, where, oh, you know, there's a threat or something, but you know the family's going to make it out. Things really aren't that bleak. But the first one didn't give a damn. It ended bad. It cut the fucking family off. It took care of them. So this time around, the ending, the reason I like this ending a little bit better is because it didn't go immediately for that. Instead, it was like a fight, which I thought was really cool. I love when films have a really cool climax like that. It was really cool to see the deputy and them trying to battle Zach and this cool little fight in the house, the children trying to help him. I really loved that. I thought it was really fucking cool. It was a really intense scene for me because since the first one established that this series doesn't give a shit and will go the tragic route, unlike other films where you know the family's going to get out, this time it was like, are they going to get out? Could they just fight and fucking lose? Or could they fight and maybe some of them survive and some not? So, I mean, this time you didn't get the feeling that everything was going to be okay. So there was a legitimate struggle there, and it was cool to see this intense struggle for me. So I liked the way they handled this ending. Was really cool. So that's basically why this one got a little bit higher. You know, the lore expansion was badass. The backstory, I really liked how they, you know, changed that up. And I really liked how they handled the ending. And really, due in part to the first one, the ending to me was elevated because there was a legitimate struggle there. It wasn't where I was confident the family was going to get out because of the first one showing that they will go that extra mile and stuff. So yeah, but to me, they're pretty close. And like I've also continued to say, the Super 8 films in the atmosphere I felt was a little darker and better in the first one, but they were both good films overall. The one thing I will say is, while looking through things, it's pretty much became obvious that a third one is unfortunately not going to be made. And that, I have to say, is a shame because I feel like, the first one, while a lot of people felt like the first one was better, I really liked this one. I think some other people probably did too. And with the expansions of this lore, to me, it opened up way more possibilities and stuff. So to me, I would have really loved to see this series continue because this was a really cool series. I loved the vibes it was doing, the unique things it was kind of taking on, and just the really dark kind of tone that this had. It was a really cool series, so it was a shame to see it get cut down in its prime in a way. That's how I feel because now that they opened up, the radio and the fact that it's happening worldwide, I mean, who knows? I mean, they had all kinds of opportunities for a third one. I mean, they could have had it take place anywhere in the world with completely different means. There was all kinds of things they could have done. So that is a big shame, at least in my opinion, that it just went, boom, and it's done and over with. Maybe one day we will get lucky. I mean, who knows? But it does not seem like a very good outcome for this series, unfortunately. But yeah, I think really that's about all that I've got to say. I kind of ran through them pretty quick, surprisingly. I thought I had more bullet points on this one than the last one, so I figured that I would be taking this one longer, but it looks like this one's a little bit shorter. So yeah, guys, I guess that's all I've got to say today. First one was awesome. Second one was awesome to me. Check them both out. And yeah, I gave my rating, so that's about all I got to say today. I don't know what I'm going to get to next time for a review. I may go something darker because, I mean, I started this channel with more really, the extremes of horror and disturbing kind of stuff. But we'll see whatever I decide to do next. But there will eventually be some more extreme horror. I have bought in some movies that I haven't even seen yet that are a part of that kind of genre of film that I intend to eventually watch and review. So I'm just letting you know they will come. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I hope you guys enjoyed these movies. Pretty awesome ones. And yeah, this is Agony333 signing out. I will see you guys next time. Peace, motherfuckers. Have a good one. See ya.